Turning to the growing scandal engulfing the royal family, an explosive new interview with the woman accusing Prince Andrew of sexual abuse, raising more questions about the Duke and his relationship with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. For more on this, we are joined this morning by former Palace Press Secretary Dickie Arbiter. Dickie, very nice to see you this morning. What did you make of Virginia's interview?
I found the interview last night on Panorama very compelling, very concise. She was very calm, she was very confident, and she was very credible. And what is interesting is this interview was done about 3 weeks ago, so before the Duke of York's interview 2 weeks ago. So it wasn't an interview, a sort of quid pro quo, he says, she says. It was recorded before that, but it was compelling viewing.
What was the strongest thing that you took away from listening to what Virginia had to say in that interview?
Well, there wasn't a lot new. She said all of it before. She admitted that she was a bit foggy on dates, but one thing she could never forget are faces and circumstances. She believed that she was trafficked, and all she seems to want is justice. And justice is a long time coming.
Yes, indeed it is. And Dickie, of course, there were also new revelations that Ghislaine Maxwell, a socialite and longtime friend of the Prince's, well, that she seemed to know that something was going on at the time. Of course, we heard about these so-called emails exchanged between her and the Prince. It seems to be specifically naming Virginia. How much do you think was her involvement here, and how much more do you think has come to light as a result of these new email allegations that we've seen?
Well, it appears by what Virginia Roberts-Giuffre was saying last night was that Ghislaine Maxwell was in charge of everything. In fact, after Virginia had spent a night with the Duke of York and got in the car with Ghislaine says, well, you know, you've made him very happy, and we want you to treat him in the same way as you treat Jeffrey. There was another lady interviewed as well who said that Ghislaine was really the nuts and bolts of the whole operation. She was the one that was involved in procuring girls. She was the one that masterminded the girls and told them what to do and what they shouldn't do. So, and you raised the issue about an email. And that one's quite interesting because it was an email written at the beginning of January 2010 in which the Duke of York asked that he wanted to speak to Ghislaine specifically about Virginia Roberts. Now, if he didn't know Virginia Roberts, I would have thought that he'd call her Miss Roberts rather than being sort of slightly familiar and calling her Virginia Roberts. We don't know what the questions were, what he wanted to know, but it's interesting that the email did suddenly surface from the Duke of York, written at the beginning of January 2010.
Indeed. And Dickie, we know that at this point still the Palace has been defending Prince Andrew's side. Of course, he's stepped back from royal duties, but you're a former Palace insider. Paint me a picture of when this documentary was going to air. What would have been happening inside the Palace walls with the royal family as they were watching that, do you think?
Well, there would have been, I wouldn't say an element of panic, but certainly an element of concern about what she was going to say. And really, at the end of the day, she didn't say a lot more than she hasn't already said over the past couple of years. But there would have been a lot of concern. There's not a lot they can do. You can't, when you've got a trial, which this appears to be a trial by television at the moment. First, you had the Duke of York 2 weeks ago. Then you have Virginia Roberts-Giuffre last night. What is going to come up next? There's a suggestion that the Duke of York wants to do another interview. Well, if he wants to do that, he's absolutely bonkers, having been castigated, having done the first one. They need to keep their heads low. He needs to start not considering, if required, to cooperate with the authorities. He needs to volunteer his services to the authorities, to the FBI, and say, yeah, I'm ready to be questioned, and really bite the bullet and say he's prepared to be questioned by the lawyers for the victims. Because as long as that doesn't happen, there is no way there is a comeback for him. At the moment, he's at the bottom of a hill and he's got a long way to climb to get back to the top again.
Dickie Arbiter, we always love to get your insights. Thank you very much.